Hey y'all, welcome back to A Dinosaur in the Library. I'm Dawn and this is Vlogmas Day 7. So today I'm going to be doing the This and That book tag. I found this over at Jen Campbell's channel and the original is from What Kelly Reads, and I will leave both of their channels down below. And I tried to film this a while ago, but I film on my phone and I got a phone call and it completely wrecked it, so I just gave up and started over. So there are 11 questions, just different things about your book collection, and I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So the first question is your oldest book and your newest. So the oldest book in my collection, and like Jen Campbell did, what I did was find the oldest in age on my shelves, because unfortunately, due to several things over the past few years, I do not have very many, if any, of the books that I had when I was little. So I kind of just, which breaks my heart. I've been trying to get back a few of them here and there. But the oldest in age that I have in my collection is this 1939 X library copy of Little Toot. And I loved this book when I was little. I had multiple copies of this because we went through them. My uncle and I used to read this a lot, and he used to call me Toodles, and nobody ever told me any different, but I think that this is why he did call me that. And yeah, so this is one of my favorites. And I actually managed, when I got this X library copy, to get the entire series. I think it's the entire series, but there's Little Toot on the Thames, Little Toot on the Mississippi. So it's awesome. And this is by Hardy Gramatke, and it's just a really cute story about a steamboat. And then my newest book, there's actually two because I bought them at the exact same time. And these are two of the newer Penguin Classics. They released three older horror books or collections in October, and this is two of them. The store did not have the third one, so I need to hunt that down, and I can't remember what the third one is. But the two I do have are The Case Against Satan by Ray Russell, and Grimscribe, Songs of a Dead Dreamer and Grimscribe by Thomas Ligotti. I love the cover. But these are my two newest ones. Older horror, sound kind of cool. Okay, the next question is your biggest book and your smallest in terms of actual physical size. My biggest book is this one, Roadside Americana, Landmark Tourist Attractions. And I'm that kid that will make people pull over so I can see, you know, the giant chicken on the side of the road, or if there's a billboard that says giant rat-eating frog, I will want to pull over to figure out exactly what's going on, and take pictures of it. So, excuse me. This is my biggest book. I thought it was my gnomes book until I went to pull it out, and that one was there. So the next one is my smallest, and that is Stanyan Street and Other Sorrows by Rod McKuen. This is a poetry collection. Rod McKuen wrote a lot of poetry in the 60s and 70s, and I was obsessed with him when I was younger, so I tried to collect everything he had. Due to the same reasons, I no longer have most of the books from when I was little. I also no longer have most of that collection, but I do still have a few of his, and this is just a tiny little collection. The next is longest book and your shortest, the number of pages. I was actually surprised that this one was my longest. I thought another one would be, but that's Stephen King's It, and it's 1,093 pages. And I think it only beat out another book by a couple of pages, and I really need to get a new copy of this. But I love the cover. I absolutely love this cover. It's like the Tim Curry Pennywise, the one that they have, the newer edition of this. It doesn't look like this, and I really prefer this cover, but it's getting real raggedy, y'all. And the shortest is a 24-page book that we got at the Vulcan Park in Birmingham when we went to visit, and that is The Ghost in the Sloss Furnaces by the Birmingham Historical Society, and it's all about Sloss Furnace and the history and the ghosts that are supposed to haunt it and who those ghosts are supposed to be. Okay, number 4, your most expensive book and your best bargain. I did not bring this over here. My most expensive book is one of my textbooks, probably one of my cataloging and classification books. Either that or one of my research methods books. Both of those are pretty pricey, but they're textbooks. So I couldn't think of one that wasn't a textbook that was an abnormal price. You know, I mean, I have some hardcovers, but they're regular hardcover price, so I really don't have anything that's that expensive. There are a few books that I would really like to have, Probably the most expensive one that I have ever considered buying and haven't been able to is a copy of a book by Eugene Walter called Monkey Poems. And it was a limited edition poetry pamphlet that was printed back in the 50s or 60s in Paris. And it's almost impossible to find. I've read it because I borrowed it from the Alabama State Library, but I don't have a copy of it. But the last time I looked, the cheapest copy I could find was about $80. So, yeah. But I do not own that. And my best bargain is probably one of the books I got for free. I didn't pick one for this just because I've gotten a lot of books for free over the last year or so. So, I think free is probably the best bargain, wouldn't you say? Next one is your most beautiful cover and your ugliest. So, the most beautiful is probably, I mean, I have a lot of beautiful covers, but the most beautiful is probably this one on the Complete Stories of Flannery O'Connor, which I think is by, I looked it up, it's like Herb Johnson. Yes, designed by Herb Johnson. I think this is just absolute, no, wait, I'm sorry. Cover design by Charlotte Strick. Cover art and portrait of Flannery O'Connor by June Glasson. I'm very sorry. This is by June Glasson. But I love this watercolor. This is by Farrar, Straus, and Giroux. And they have the other of her books with this same type of design, just a different portrait. I desperately want to get all of them in this because this is beautiful. I bet I have other copies, and I don't really like the ones I have, but my phone rang and interrupted my recording. And my ugliest cover, as I have said before, is this Oxford World Classics picture of Dorian Gray. It is supremely ugly and does not fit the book at all, I don't think. I mean, I just don't. No. Okay, next question. Favorite book and one you hated. So, where did my book go? Sorry, guys. Everything's disappearing. Is it a surprise? It might be if you're new here. I'm kind of obsessed with this book. And what I hated, if you're new here, this is also a surprise, but I put up a rant about this book not long ago. It's The Rise of Women, the Growing Gender Gap in Education and What It Means for American Schools by Thomas A. Dupreet and Claudia Buckman. I will link the review down below if you're interested in why I hated this book so much. Next is Book That Made You Laugh and Book That Made You Cry. And while this book has some sad parts in it, this book made me laugh. It's Dear Committee Members by Julie Schumacher, another book that I have done a review of, and I will leave its details below. And one that made me cry, Where the Red Fern Grows by Wilson Rawls. I have read this so many times, and I'd like to have a better copy. This one's, I think I got it at a yard sale, or no, I got it at a used bookstore, but it's, written in and by a kid, and it's kind of messy. But it's kind of falling apart. But it's a story of a little boy and his two coonhounds, and it is supremely awesome, but it will make you weep. Just fair warning. But such a good book. So worth the ugly cry. So worth it. The next book is Book That Warmed Your Heart and Book That Made You Shiver. Book That Warmed My Heart is Flawed Dogs by Berkeley Breathed. It's which is by the same person who created Bloom County and Opus the Penguin and Bill the Cat. And this is about these little dogs who are essentially handicapped, and it's just adorable, and it will just make you smile so big at the end, and it is such a heartwarming little story. And the next book, the book that made me shiver, was Exquisite Corpse by Poppy Z. Bright. I read a lot of horror, watch a lot of horror movies, watch a lot of slasher movies, read about serial killers, watch documentaries about serial killers. My wife is kind of obsessed with them, so we will watch a lot of things like that, and I'm interested as well. But this is about two cannibal serial killers, and this kind of gave me the creep and icks, even though I've read it a lot of times. It's a really well-written story. I love Poppy Bright's work, but it still gave me the creeping icks. Book you can't wait to read and one you've been putting off. So the book I brought over that I can't wait to read is The Map of Chaos by Felix J. Palma, the third in the Trilogia Victoriana, which I have gone on about a lot, so I won't ramble too much. And another book I should have brought over is also Paris in the 20th Century by Jules Verne. I finally did get it in the mail. It was Jules Verne's Lost novel, and it was not published when he was alive because the publisher thought it was essentially too fantastic. There's no way that would be true. And then it was discovered by a great-grandson or a great-great-grandson, something like that. And, you know, the manuscript was discovered in a box and they published it. So thank you, great-grandson, for locating that book because I cannot wait to get to it. And one you've been putting off, actually I have two. I've been putting off Don Quixote just because it's a chunker, and this was one of the ones that almost beat out it. This one's 1,034 pages, and I really do want to read it, but I just haven't had the time to really delve into it, and it's one that I really want to take my time and go through because I remember loving this the first time I read it. And the other one I've been holding off on is Unlondon by China Miéville. And partially just because I haven't had time. I don't think this one's going to be a time consumer or anything. But also partially because I read Kraken and absolutely loved it. But then I tried to read Perdido Street Station and couldn't get through it. And that was really the bug thing. It's a personal thing. It had nothing to do with the book itself. I really did want to finish the book, but I just couldn't. And so I'm afraid that it's going to happen again. I'm afraid there's something weird in here that's going to make me not be able to finish it. But I don't think so. This one is more, from what I can tell, it's got stuff about books and libraries in it. But I could be wrong about that. Yeah, but Holly Black gave it a great review. So hopefully I can get to this soon and it will be amazing. The next is number 10, a book more people should read and one that was not as good as expected. I've gone on about this series quite a bit as well. The book everybody should read is Libriomancer by Jim C. Hines, and also the rest of the series, which is Codex Born. I can't remember the third book's name. Codex Born is the second one, and then the last one is Revisionary. I know that, but you need to read the whole series. It's the Magic X Liber series about books, librarians, amazing fantasy series. Go pick it up. And if you're somebody who doesn't like picking up a series because you're afraid it's going to go on and on, the fourth book is the last book. Revisionary is coming out in February or March. I can't remember. I think it's February 2nd, and it is supposed to be the last book in this series. So you can start it if that's one of the reasons you haven't started it. And a book that was not as good as expected, Triangle by Catherine Weber. I did a review of this, so I won't go on too much about it. I'll just link the review down below if you really want to know why I did not care for this book at all. And the last question, the next book you'll buy and the next book you'll be getting rid of. So the next book I'll buy will probably, if I get any gift cards or anything for Christmas, will probably be the new Sarah Vowell book, Lafayette and the Somewhat United States. Sarah Vowell is a nonfiction writer, and she does a lot with American history, and she's awesome. If you're looking to get into nonfiction and you like history, but you're kind of afraid of like very academic kind of, you should check out Sarah Vowell. She is super easy to read. Her books read very much like novels, but it's all nonfiction American history. She's amazing. She also did the voice of Violet in The Incredibles. Fun fact. And the next book you'll be getting rid of, this needs to get off my shelf. I honestly haven't done an unhaul and cleaned off my shelves in a while just because I knew there were a lot of books I needed to get to, and some of the books I have that I need to read I probably won't be keeping. There are some that I'm interested in reading, but not really that I want to keep forever, especially some of the nonfic stuff I have, and a few of the novels. I'll probably be chunking those at some point, and I will also be getting rid of this one at the same time because but then what will I hold up when somebody asks me what my ugliest book is in a tag? I'll find another one. Bye, Felicia. All right, so that is the This and That book tag. If you'd like to do this tag, please let me know that you do. I would love to see what your answers are, or if you don't have a channel or you don't want to do it on your channel, leave an answer in the comments below. Answer one of these questions. What's your ugliest book? Somebody's got to have something uglier than that, even though that's a horrendous book. It's got to happen. There's so many ugly books in the world, and so many beautiful ones. Anyway, I have rambled quite enough, and I will see you tomorrow for Vlogmas Day 8.